We are not living in a republic. We're living in a machine. I think we're staring at one of the largest unregulated political machines operating in the United States ever. And they have concluded now that the political arm of CARE, known as CARE Action, has been operating nationwide with no legal authority to do the things it has been doing for years now. Okay, so let me go over what is what's happening with CARE. You know, the founding fathers were obsessed over accountability because they knew one thing. You know, they didn't get suggestions from people on, through tweets. They studied every single system of government, every single republic that survived, that didn't survive, why didn't it survive. They studied all forms of government. They were trying to come up with something that could set people free. And they worked really hard on putting our checks and balances in place because they knew once power slips into the shadows, once influence becomes unmoored for law, what rises is not a republic, it's a machine. And that's what you're seeing right now. We are not living in a republic, we're living in a machine. I think we're staring at one of the largest unregulated political machines operating in the United States ever, okay? There have been a couple of groups that are doing sweeping investigations, two watchdog groups. One of them is NCRI and the Intelligent Advocacy Network. And they have concluded now that the political arm of CARE, known as CARE Action, has been operating nationwide with no legal authority to do the things it has been doing for years now.
Beck frames the issue by discussing the founders' emphasis on accountability and argues that the U.S. is drifting toward an unregulated machine. He introduces watchdog claims that CARE Action has allegedly operated without legal authority, raising money and coordinating political efforts unlawfully. Do you think political groups today are genuinely held accountable, or do some operate in the shadows by default?
They're not allowed to raise money. They've been raising money. Coordinating political campaigns, not allowed to do it. They're doing it. Endorsing candidates, not allowed to do it. They're doing it. Mobilizing voters, shaping policy fights, functioning as a national advocacy network. They don't have the legal authority to do any of it, and no one has said anything. Now, according to the report, CARE Action doesn't just have a paperwork problem. Investigators found state by state that it lacks the license, the registrations, the charitable authorizations required to legally solicit money, or conduct political activity in any of the 22 states in which it operates. Think of that. I know how serious this is because I remember what it took to get the license in each and every state for Mercury One. So we could operate, we could raise money, we could do things in those states. It's a lot of work. And if you don't do it, you go to jail. And they find out pretty quickly, okay? 22 states they operate, not one, zero legal authorization. In Washington, D.C., the city where CARE Action is incorporated, the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection told investigators they have no record of CARE Action ever obtaining the basic business license required to solicit funds or to operate. Imagine how long would you last in business, especially if you were controversial. How long would you remain in business if you never had a business license? You think somebody would figure that out in sooner time than, I don't know, a couple of decades? This report means that the organization, if true, is engaging in unlicensed interstate solicitation. It has exposed itself to allegations as serious as deceptive solicitation, wire fraud, and false statements to the IRS. These are big things, and this is not political rhetoric. These are phrases written in black and white in the law and by investigators. In California, one of CARE's most active hubs, the state attorney general has said, the state attorney general of California has said, same pattern here. The state of California, the attorney general is saying, yep, that's what's happening here. CARE Action has never registered with California's charitable registry, never filed the required CT1 form, and has no authorization whatsoever to request donations, but they've been doing it in California anyway. Fundraising, selling memberships, issuing endorsements, mobilizing voters, all of it been done by CARE Action. There's no record of any license, any permission ever going to CARE from California. That's according to their attorney general.
This section focuses on findings that CARE Action allegedly lacks required permissions in 22 states, including California and Washington, D.C. Beck compares this to the strict compliance required for most nonprofits, emphasizing how unusual this would be. If a large organization fails to follow state laws, should intent matter, or is the violation itself what counts?
Wow. That's pretty remarkable, huh? How does that happen?